I invite you to open your Bibles, please, to Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter. What does the word Ecclesiastes mean? Kind of early. He's the preacher. Koheleth is the Hebrew term, and it's the preacher. So Solomon is depicted here as the one with wisdom, and he's presenting God's wisdom to us. And these observations of life is look at it from the standpoint of life under the sun, not the perspective of heaven and our eternal home in heaven and what happens when we leave this earth. That he doesn't contradict those things, and kind of works well. This is life, but it ends. What then? We'll see it in the end of the book. But it deals with life under the sun. It's just how things are, and what I think is important for us to be studying this book, the modernity of it is, we see that because the man hasn't changed and his desires and how he operates hasn't changed, even though circumstances around us have, is the fact that our world is turned upside down now in it from what we understand life should be, where you have multiple different things that, well, that's my gender. There's only two. And yet we have multiple genders because we can be what we want to be. And our world is like that. That is reality. That's supposed to be reality. But it's not truth. It's not the absolute truth that we see. And what happens is that we get contradictory with God, and we suffer for that. And we have anxieties because now we don't know what absolute truth is, and we don't know whom we can put our trust in. And the Bible comes along, you'll never be ashamed. God knows those who are his. It's the sure foundation of God. He always takes us back to the truth if we'll open his book to do that. But when things are written down and ignored, and God is not here with Solomon or with the kings of old, or with David or Paul, that could just come in and say, hey, this is the way it is, and we know, well, he's inspired of God, that ends it. We have to go into the Word of God, and we have to study that, and we have to apply it. We have to distinctively see what's being said distinctively. And so we kind of talked about that last time. Is suicide okay now because it's so bad? It's better that people haven't even seen it yet, that are not yet been born yet. Those who have been long dead is better than what we see here of oppression, of things that are not right. And we see that here as he puts this into context. I saw all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold, the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And he sees that. We see that where in chapter 3 and verse 17, I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the dead. There's a time there for every purpose and every work. What's that bringing us? What's that foundation truth boasting up for us? Verse 16. Why is there a problem? I saw under the sun, verse 16, a place of justice, that wickedness was there. In the place of righteousness, wickedness was there. We're experiencing that today. More and more is coming out is how many people from January 6th is in prison right now. Reporters, just there to report. They've been grabbed. They've been put into prison. Oppressing. Where's the comforter? Where's the legal system? Where's the justice? And all of that's turned upside down in our world, and we see, here's the book. God will judge. And yes, it is sad, but that doesn't mean, we talked about this last time, the reason I'm just looking at it, is the fact that it doesn't mean you take your life. Job is a great example. Anyone that could have asked for Kevorkian to come in and give him an easy death, it'd be Job. I mean, family against him. His wife said, curse God and die. And he knew that truth, the reality, he hadn't turned against God, so he turns against God in a way of saying that God's not fair. And he had to learn that indeed God has his reason for doing it. God would bless him at the end. I mean, if he'd have taken his life, he'd have missed out on those pleasures and those joys. God never wants us to take innocent life and do it on our own. He's the one that gives life. And so the idea of suicide because things get so bad, and yet what's happening to more and more young people today? What's happening in our society today? Have we had more suicides because of the shutdown and oppression with COVID? We see that. With our media, our young people looking at, well, this is what ought to be, and this is what this center should be, and they're distraught. There's a lot of young people taking their lives. They haven't even begun to live it. And that's why we need to be grounding we have responsibility to our kids, and you're bringing them, and that's good. I'm preaching to the choir, so to speak. We will understand what it is, but I commend you for that. But a lot of people in this world don't have that. There's a generation or two that's grown up, and they don't even know what the church is. They have no part in the church. They have no idea of the Bible stories from the Bible. That's just completely away from their life. And they're robbing themselves of God's wisdom. Glad you're here, but we need to apply this as we look at this fourth chapter this morning. But suicide is not the answer, because what happens when you go through the difficulties, you may find there's some great lessons to learn when you go through that and you survive that. And that indeed Job was going to be blessed double than he had been blessed before. And he learned lessons as well. And we need to live in order to do that. Any comments that kind of opens it up? Hopefully that you'll say, I'm going to see what this text says, and we're going to study that together. What is the sad reality in life concerning the skillful work one may do? God deals with this. What is the sad reality? This is the way it is. What happens? Yeah, it wasn't jealousy here. Some of your translation may have that. We're going to make a distinction here. And when my Bible says skillful, it just may be successful. That's kind of the Hebrew term, successful. Are you a success? I don't like you succeeding. Not that I want to rise up and imitate you. I don't want you to have that success, so I envy. That's the dark side of jealousy. I envy you. I don't want you to have that. I don't want you to be successful. What's Solomon saying about his generation, as God just said, this is under the sun. I don't care how long man's going to last. This is the way it's going to be. Do you see that in reality of those of us who have lived life long enough? I mean, you're in grade school. If somebody gets 100, you may envy them. You're not going to study, so you can get that. When I was in college, this is Kathy's sister. She's very smart. But I was in a geology class with my sister-in-law. And she ruined the curve for the rest of us. Now, did I envy her? Did I want to, I wish you weren't in my class. That's kind of poor attitude. But she aced everything. We had no curve. And so I didn't ever tell them that's my sister-in-law. I didn't want to get everybody mad at me, the family. But there's something that she's skillful, and her qualities are there. I shouldn't envy that, and I didn't. It made us work harder. I was glad for her, but sometimes you don't have that family connection. You don't know the person like I did and realize what kind of person she is, how dedicated she is. I rejoice with that, but it did ruin our curve. You had to make it on your own, because the teacher says, somebody got it. Why can't you? Now, envy can happen that way, and you say, well, I can't reach that, so I'll find some way to tear them down. And that's what's happening here, and that is a sad reality. Here's skillful work. Somebody made a better car. Somebody made a better widget. Somebody had a better way of doing things. And because you didn't think of it, you didn't invent it, you didn't profit from it, we envy. We envy. And that has man changed. I'm saying no, that happens too. And we come to realize that has indeed been a problem. It's been a problem all along. Cain killed Abel. What's that about? He said, why is your countenance so sad? Sin is knocking at your door. You can overcome that. But one was given a sacrifice that was by faith, and I see of giving the best of one's produce that one has. And Abel did it, Cain didn't do it. So what did envy? I don't like his success, so what do? I kill him. Murder. Take him out. I can't rise up and meet him because I'm not going to go there. But we'll make sure you don't live too long to enjoy things. And that's why I say it's a dark side of jealousy. Jealousy is the idea that here's someone there and you want to be like that. You might want to have the success that they have. Envy is, I don't necessarily want to be there, but I don't want you. Don't ruin the curve in life and take them down. Yes. That's right, Mark 15:10. That's true, and he uses the word envy there too, and I think that's a very good point. Any other thoughts? Yes, sir.
I just think about Haman and Mordecai, and that Mordecai's not harming Haman at any point. He's furious for the honor.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so those are great illustrations. So we see that a lot of human beings have their problem, and it still has that today. Okay. Question number 4. Understand this reality. What, however, is still foolish? What is still foolish? Let's do nothing. Anything successful, you're going to be envied, so let's just do nothing. I don't want to be envied. I don't want to show up the way I need to do that. So there's this other side. You want to take that extreme, and people indeed may strive to do that. They may be doing that. And that's no good, because we see that has a better thing. So why is that still foolish? Why is that foolish? Yeah, so what happens when you quit working, you quit striving to do that? Something's going to come as a robber, the Bible says, and you're not going to have any food to eat. So what does he say here? The end result is taking place there, that indeed there's going to be, folds his hands together and eateth his own flesh, because he doesn't have anything else to partake of. He doesn't have anything to do that with. So he's not working, and that therefore becomes a problem. So he ends up eating his own flesh because he has no food and he's self-destruct. And is that still a reality of life? We can sit there and complain of everybody's success, and I'm just not going to do anything. Or I don't want to strive for success anymore, so I'll just not try anymore. You're going to be suffering for it too, and that becomes a problem. So here's reality of life, and Paul kind of puts it together. If a man will not work, neither let him what? Neither let him eat. And he said, I'll show you example by my hands. We work. You work with your hands that which is good, that you may have whereof to give to him who hath need, not who is lazy and doesn't want to work. That's Paul's point about not eating. But there are some people that have needs, and all of a sudden, I work and I'll supply my needs, so I don't have to eat my own flesh, don't have anything to eat and destroy myself, but to help others. There's the mindset. But reality is, you'll be envied for success, and if you don't strive to get in that game and do the best you can, do with all your might, as Ecclesiastes said, with all your heart, you're going to find yourself at the other extremes. You're not going to be helping yourself at all. So there's the folding of his hands together and eateth his own flesh. Look at this thing's put this way in Proverbs the 6th chapter. More than once, this proverb is set forth. But verses 10 and 11, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as a robber, and thy want as an armed man. You're putting this off, little slumber, little sleep. I'll get busy later on, get work done. Something comes like a man come with a gun. It's a robber. You've got to deal with it now, and you're not prepared. And that's how slothfulness ends up, and laziness, and folding of the hands, and not working. So there's the principle of working, and there's the dynamic of that. Well, if I work and I'm successful, they'll take away Trump Towers from me. They will take away all of my possessions. They'll take away my golf course that I've worked hard, the skyline that I've made. They'll take that away from me because they envy and they'll want to destroy you. That's the kind of reality that we're living in now, and that's what we see. And I just won't do anything. That's not good either. That's foolish. So he hits both sides of that. But what is the wisdom from Ecclesiastes? I'm going to do with all my might, and I'm going to enjoy the fruit of my labor. I'm going to enjoy the good of my labor. That's another way of looking at it. Just the good of laboring and the goodness involved with that. I'm helping others. I'm feeding my family. I'm enjoying the product, and all of those things get together. That's what you get out of life. And that is true today in our modern society as well. So it'd be good kids get that when you're young. Yes?
If I were to distill the Ecclesiastes commentary about work, I would reduce it just like this. I'd say Ecclesiastes said work to have enough to provide for yourself. Don't work so hard that you accumulate more than you really need, and you just are making that the end of your life.
Yeah. And making that kind of your
Enjoy the fruits of your labor.
yeah. Thank you.
That right there really sums up Ecclesiastes.
There you go.
About work and material good.
That's right. That's good. That's good to do that. So that's why it's still foolish. What makes one handful better than two?
It's kind of the opposite extreme. The one handful is kind of the happy medium between doing nothing, and the two handfuls is just, more, materialism.
Yeah, and it's David's point. Well, he summed it up, and this is why that was a good summation, because better is a handful with what? Quite. I don't have, I've got that. And I don't have 150 of these, where it'd be more anxiety because I got to make sure what I'll do with them. But I got this in front of me, and so it's better than two handfuls with labor and a striving after wind. There's the abundance thing. Yes, sir.
Tie it back to the previous verse with the two hands folded, the two hands folded, eats his own flesh. Neither hand is full in that verse.
Yeah.
And then you've got two hands full of toil, or one handful of quietness. One handful of toil.
So mediocrity is the way of life. You don't want to do that, do you? I just, when I see the streams, I just go be in the middle. I'll make C, Daddy. You'll be okay.
Adequacy and balance.
What's that?
Adequacy and balance.
Yeah, but who knows? Your eye will never tell you that. You want more. And you have to train yourself. But and then we see the other component. You do with all of your might. I mean, you give your all, and that's another component here. And that's a good point. That it's not. I'll just find the middle road. There's a lot of dead possums that do that. That's not good. And you realize that no, in life, here's all these parameters. But see, this is life under the sun, and he's telling you to be wise. We go that route, we go that extreme, and we look here in the middle. Wasn't just, well, I'll just do halfway. No, it's some with the quietness, and the quietness comes. Well, I've been blessed. I have what I need. I can share, and all of those things, and not having to have more and more pile up to make myself appear useful or prosperous or show my skills and all of that. That's not what my life means, because it can bring labor and strife and striving after wind, which you're going to lose it anyway at the end. And that's the point that he's making throughout Ecclesiastes. We die. we leave it behind. But we enjoy it while it's here in a way that is right. Not, well, I'll just take the middle of the road in my culture. No, you putting yourself out, but realize these things and just enjoy the handful you have today. Enjoy it. And realize that here's my necessities. I'm blessed. I'm happy. And tomorrow I'm going to work hard, and God will bless me. If He doesn't, I'm going to be praying for my daily bread tomorrow, and wait on the Lord. All those things help life under the sun and helps us for eternity as well. But those are good points. Okay, number 6. How is one deprived of good regarding his labor? So we're getting to that point. You need to enjoy the good of your labor. And to just go back to make sure, back in Ecclesiastes 2, this wasn't the first time he did this, but in chapter 2 and verse 24, there's nothing better for a man that he should eat and drink and make his soul enjoy the good in his labor. Fruits of his labor could be in there, but just the good in his labor, that I'm working, I'm producing, I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor. This also I saw that it is from the hand of God. God created you. He created us as peoples, and we have a society, we have a culture, and we live in cities. Just to have a city, all the things that are involved with that. Every time I've had an outage at our home last week. A lot of people didn't, but I just realized we depend on electricity, don't we? For so many things. And here we are getting ready to go to church, and how are we going to put on our clothes? I don't know if it's a blue suit or black. I don't, you especially ladies putting makeup on, how's that going to look? And well, what can you do about it? I can't do a thing about it. Now, you could put a candle, or you can take your phone and you're putting it on your face, and you like the way you look when you look at your face in the phone there. I wouldn't want to get made up either. It's like, but I'm going to have to do it today because we don't have that electricity. Just a thing of life. Well, we wouldn't have the city of Houston if somebody hadn't dug a ship channel for us. Houston wouldn't be the city it is. Things change because of labor, foresight, and you look down the road and say that was a good move. And we live and we have infrastructure, and those things have to be working. We have water and all those things. You take that away, and you got chaos, and you see what's on the streets of our cities today that are homeless, and they're trying just to survive. And it can happen so quickly in our society. But what we do, we can use our wisdom, be skillful, but enjoy what we have, especially when we have that. So here's the insight that he gives us upon this. How is one deprived of good regarding his labor? We've talked about, what if we want to just have things to hoard it, and I just want to look at it piled up in my wealth. I returned and saw under the sun, in verse 7, there is one that is alone, and hath not a second. He hath neither son nor brother, yet there is no end of all of his labor, neither are his eyes satisfied with riches. For whom then saith he, do I labor and deprive my soul of good? How is one deprived of good regarding his labor? Or he doesn't have anybody to share it with. Now, that enjoy it, but how can I enjoy it? I don't have anybody to share it with. All it is that it's piling up, and that will never be satisfied. You'll always want more. That's why it's not satisfied with riches. But here the point is, I don't have anybody to share it with. And then why am I deprived? That's how I'm deprived of good. Isn't that part of things that makes life enjoyable? You labor and you make a pie and you cook a good meal, and nobody's going to eat it except Rover. And that's wonderful, but he could have done without that. He's doing all right. But you have nobody to share it with. And you can eat it, enjoy the fruit of your labor, and that's fine. But there's something about not being alone. Doesn't mean that you can't find happiness that way. Sometimes we have to be alone. Sometimes things in life, we become widows, we become orphans, and all those things happen. But here is something that's good to share what you have. And we get married, and part of the joys of that is that you share life with another, with someone that you love. And just having a friendship, having a son, having an heir here that we're talking about. Or his eyes will not be satisfied with riches, but for whom then said he, do I labor? My wife, my children. If it's just for myself, how can I share what we did today? Well, I'll talk to me, myself, and I. We'll get along. But it'd be nice to share that with somebody who cares. And that's a sadness. Yes.
I lived long enough that back in 1976, I remember when Howard Hughes died. He was probably one of the richest men in the world, and yet I thought that he looked like a sad little man.
Yeah.
All that wealth, because he looked like a real recluse, and looked like he didn't have anybody really in his life.
Yeah. And you say, well, man, what? That was a sad way to live life. I'd lived it differently, but sometimes that's what happens. You become a recluse because you can't trust anybody, because they're everybody's out to get your money or envy your skill, and they want to take that away from you. So you just become more and more a recluse. So many reasons for that, but you get he got kind of a little paranoid to the extreme, didn't he? But there's a loneliness there. And that doesn't mean that you may have to have circumstances in life where you're oppressed and nobody's there to comfort you. That doesn't mean I don't want to live. It just means that sharing things is that way. And sometimes I like to be alone. You're engaged with people, and that's wonderful. Love all of that. That's my choice in life, to not be a recluse or to be involved with other people. But there's times when you say, oh, I just wish I could get alone, be alone. How you like to do that for a week? Would that be enjoyable after a while? Maybe you did it for a month. What happens when we're shut down in COVID and we could not interact with anybody? What was that life like? Where you couldn't even get outside if you were lived in some places, just to see other people. That was just to see somebody. So how does somebody else, or to see somebody else, or at certain times no family could ever come see you during that time. It's not good for man to be alone. He made us creatures that sometimes, wow, if I could just be alone and just live in a mountain by myself, I think I would be happy. Maybe for a while, but then the vacation's over. And then you realize, what's solitary confinement in prison like? It's not pretty. That's torture. And sometimes that's the penalty placed upon some pretty bad guys, bad people. But that point, if it becomes solitary confinement, ends up being, that's not a vacation, and it's not mentally healthy after a while. So, and I don't think we're dogs, but you find in the dog kingdom, having a companion. Dogs have a companion. They have a happier life. They seem to. They smile better. We might fit that, but they like to be in a pack. They like to be with other people. And we might find ourselves not wanting to be with other people, but after a while, there's somebody that you need close to you. That would be a blessing in life. And he's hitting at that about have something to live for, have something that you're dealing with, that I want to share my labor with others. Will a greedy spirit ever be satisfied? And we'll see that more in chapter 5. But the idea here is that my eyes will not be satisfied with riches. That's a fact. We get so much, and what do we want? Well, I like to have some more. And well, your bank account's well, we could lose it all of a sudden. We need to have more. It never gets. I have too much. I have too much. We may do that with food, but what happens the next day? Really? You want some more? Yeah, I'm okay now. At the moment we say I'm full, but you're not satisfied because tomorrow you'll want some more, or at least the next day will come around. So that greedy spirit is never going to be satisfied. Well, I'm going to work and labor and do it for myself. I don't have anybody to share it with. There's the point about life that we need to think about and realize that indeed it's a blessing to be with others. That's what he's setting forth. What 3 benefits are there in sharing life with another? And this doesn't mean that living single is a bad choice, or living single is bad. Paul lived single, and he rejoiced in the Lord all the time. And we may find ourselves that way, but this is exalting the idea of having another in your life. And so we deal with that as well. And we are involved with that. So what 3 benefits do you see here? Verse 9. 2 are better than 1. Now, I'm going to eliminate the one with 3. So that's why I have 3. But 2 are better than 1 because what? And this is the point we've made. They have what? Reward for their labor. Now, if I have to live alone, and certainly I will enjoy the fruit of my labor and maybe have something to share with another. I hope that comes around. And we'll always find somebody that's need worthy. But I have fruit from labor because that one I'm close to, I'm benefiting them. What happens if there's a tragedy hits, like somebody falls? That happens. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. See, it's not necessarily marriage we're talking about. He's just having companions and friends. He'll pick up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when what? When he falls, and he hath another to lift him up. We've seen the commercials. The poor older person is on the floor. They've been there, and the clock, it's just going around and around. Be there for hours and hours and hours because no one's there to check on them. No one's there to pick them up. And we know, that's bad. That's why we want somebody in our lives that we could depend on. And again, the third thing, if 2 lie together, there they have warmth. No, I got an electric blanket, I got electric heat. Well, the electricity goes out. They have warmth, but how can one be warm alone? And there is that close connection there. And even if you're out with guys, I guess you could get together and blubber and all that, get you warm, fat, and trying to survive. The bodies are warm, and that together can give you warmth. So there's the sense 2 is better than 1, and the sense that will always be true. There'll be something that's there. It was true then, especially then, but it's true as well as today as well. Number 9, what 2 facts cause the king to lose favor with his people? I don't know if well, here's what kind of king? Here's an old, foolish king. What makes him foolish? You can't tell him he did wrong anymore. He's old, set in his ways, foolish. He doesn't regard anything against him. So that makes him foolish. And he once was poor before he was a king. He knew where he came from, but he's got power in that way. There is a young, but what kind of king? What kind of young man is coming on the scenes? He's wise. And the people see that, and they got a comparison. There's a contrast. And what happens? They put their trust and regard the king that is young, and they go after him. And he says, there was no end of all the people, verse 16, even all them over whom he was. So he was king over all. Yet they that come after shall not rejoice in him, Surely this also is a vanity and striving after wind, because in verse 10, who can take his place? Young, wise person comes along. If having power is your goal in life, what should you consider? Old man, there's a young man's coming along behind you. He'll take your place. Power you can lose. That, and age is involved here, but the foolishness there of not remembering where you came from and ruling in such a way that the people see you have regard for us as well. You were one like us. You were poor before you came in your kingdom. But if it's all about power, this guy's losing it. And if he's had that power, that's a tough thing to give up. And yet it happens. It's just striving after win. What do? Use your power for good. And realize you get old and we move on. Any comments or questions in that? Lesson 5 will be, Lord willing, we'll take that up next time. Anything you want to add that we maybe went over and you want to stress? Okay, thank you for your participation, you being here.